in the hope that somebody will come along and say, there's money in this, let's support Meghan and her as ever brand. What sparked it? I thought that was just such a disgrace. I thought she behaved so badly, and Harry too. And she targeted, there's no doubt she targeted Harry and found someone who was a childhood friend of his who could introduce them.
Picture this. A calm morning in California, the sky barely awake, sunlight creeping in slowly, coffee is still warm on the counter, and inside that massive $14 million Montecito mansion, Meghan Markle's phone suddenly goes wild. Notifications start flashing nonstop, lighting up the screen like fireworks. One call comes in, then another, and in that moment, everything starts to spiral fast. Because Tom Bower just dropped a major revelation, and people cannot stop talking about it. What he's exposing this time is the kind of thing that sends crisis teams into panic mode and has Meghan reportedly staying far out of sight behind closed doors. This isn't just another chapter of royal drama. This is a full-blown public storm, and it's unfolding right now.
You write in the book, Harry must be nuts. This is one of the text messages his friends were sending around to each other after Meghan's first introduction to Harry's friends in 2017 during a shooty weekend at Sandringham. You know, Meghan's podcast has fallen off the charts. She's been criticized for the content. There are rumors that her As Ever launch wasn't as successful as she considered it. Critically, With Love Meghan was not a success.
Before we break down what just surfaced and why these details have Meghan on edge, make sure you're subscribed and hit that like button. Turn on notifications too, because this story moves fast and you won't want to miss what comes next. Now let's get straight into it. Here's the real deal about Tom Bower. This isn't some random internet voice chasing clicks from behind a screen. This is a veteran journalist with decades of experience going after powerful figures across the globe. We're talking business tycoons, major public personalities, and people with influence so deep it reshapes industries. Yes, that includes the royal family.
What's happened over the long term. And it's not healthy to have these stories of rivalry, and to split the foundation was absolutely unnecessary.
Bower built his reputation on saying the things others are afraid to even hint at. When he focuses on someone, it's never light or comfortable. And when he writes about you, that's usually when things start getting very tense. He doesn't smooth things over, and he doesn't protect reputations. He investigates, pushes, and keeps digging until hidden details come to the surface. His last book, Revenge, Meghan, Harry, and the War Between the Windsors, shook everything up. The reaction was immediate and intense. Royal insiders were reportedly stunned, headlines exploded everywhere, and conversations spread fast across media and social circles. The claims inside that book caused shockwaves that people are still talking about.
You can't trust Meghan and Harry. That's the point. Even if you think you've got a deal, and that I don't believe that is possible, but if you think you have, the palace will be shocked that they will renege immediately, because they have no advantage of reconciliation. They've got no advantage of ending their vendetta.
Many assumed that was the peak, that Bower had said all he was going to say, but somehow he's gone even further this time. And that says a lot, considering how much attention his last release already sparked. Now Bower is turning the spotlight toward a chapter of Meghan's past that she may have wanted left behind, her Hollywood years. Not the polished moments or high-profile appearances, but the early grind, back when she was navigating auditions, chasing roles, and trying to break into one of the toughest industries out there. Hollywood is known for being ruthless. Talent alone rarely opens doors. You need timing, connections, and the right people backing you at the right moment. And according to what Bower has uncovered, Meghan's rise may not have followed the smooth, natural path many believed. There are now claims circulating about industry doors opening unexpectedly.
Who she could, so I sent off dozens and dozens of emails to her friends, and most of them didn't even reply.
Opportunities appearing suddenly with little explanation. And these details are raising eyebrows across entertainment circles, because the story being told now looks very different from the one the public has heard for years. And here's where things get wild. Whispers are circulating about the connections Meghan supposedly leaned on to climb the ladder. The kind of links that make people question how much of her rise was pure talent versus who she actually knew. And it doesn't stop there. Bower's sources are now spilling stories about people she allegedly left behind on her way up. Not literally stepping on anyone, of course, but you get the idea. Former friends left in the dust. Colleagues suddenly deemed useless. People who helped her and then vanished once she moved up. That's the picture Bower is painting. It's someone determined to succeed no matter the cost, and that path from struggling actress to global icon, according to Tom, wasn't built on the clean, organic story we've all been fed.
Up their whole thing, went way too hard on we're victims, and they assessed the mood of their generation and America correctly in that we are lovers of victimhood.
Yeah.
But America did finally find a way to say, you know what, we love victims, but you two, we've just had a little too much of it.
Now it's about to get even messier for Meghan, because Bauer didn't just dig into her Hollywood past and stop there. Oh no, he went much deeper. His claims suggest Meghan didn't just climb the ladder. She allegedly rewrote pieces of her story to make it all fit. Once Prince Harry came into the picture, everything shifted. Meeting a literal prince? That changes a person's world in ways you can't even imagine. And according to Bauer, that's exactly when Meghan began reshaping her backstory, tweaking details, polishing certain parts of her past to fit this new royal narrative she was stepping into. It's like watching someone craft an entire personal brand, the modern princess with a perfect, compelling journey. One passage reportedly even says she reinvented whole chunks of her history to match this image. And we're not talking small edits here. We're talking major parts of who she claimed to be, the kind of revelations that make people question everything they thought they knew. But here's what really hit Meghan hard.
Just ludicrous. It's all about her. And this extraordinary interview with Serena Williams, where the first 11 minutes is all about her, and not about this phenomenal tennis
Serena
champion.
Williams.
I mean, so that's why it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And who'd want to put herself or himself, as always, women. I mean, she does have this strange distrust, I think, of men.
When she realized just how much detail Bauer had gathered, insiders say she completely lost it. Full-on meltdown mode. This wasn't surface-level gossip from old interviews or public records. This was personal, intimate stuff that only came from people who actually knew her, people who were close to her at one point. And that's when the panic truly set in. She realized that someone she trusted had likely spoken to Tom Bauer. For someone whose entire reputation is built on controlling every single detail of her public image, that's a nightmare. Sources say Meghan struggles when she's not in full control. She wants to know exactly what's being said, when and how it's being framed. That's how Meghan's operated for years, always in control. But with Bauer's book, she had zero say, and she knew it. Word is, she even tried to get her team to dig into who was cooperating with him, like she needed to find out which old friends or acquaintances had turned on her.
Never really intended to stay. Her guest list to her wedding showed her real ambition was to be a star in California.
That's how intense it got. These weren't random claims Bauer was tossing out. They were details only someone from her inner circle could have shared. The secrets he uncovered cut straight through all that glossy PR armor she had spent years crafting. Every carefully curated story about her journey, her struggles, her rise to fame, it was suddenly being questioned. And not by random internet trolls, but by someone with receipts, someone who did the homework. Imagine that feeling. You've spent years controlling your narrative, making sure every interview, every appearance, every Instagram post fits perfectly into the image you built. Then someone comes along and starts poking holes, showing the world maybe things weren't exactly how you said they were. That polished image Meghan protected so fiercely, cracks were appearing, and once those cracks show, they're impossible to ignore. While Meghan is dealing with this bombshell dropping, let's talk about Harry for a second.
Professionally, they've gone down dramatically, and I predicted it in the book, but even I would not have thought it'd be that accelerated. I think personally, I think they've separated their professional lives, but I think what's really a great problem for them now, as of in the last few weeks, is that Meghan has got no real income anymore. She's finished.
Right.
The Netflix series is over. There's no great podcast. They don't generate any money. And I don't see where she is going from here.
He's not exactly sitting back calm either. Ever since whispers of Bauer's book started spreading, Harry's been in full-on panic mode. And you can kind of see why. Their California dream, that fresh start they hyped, not exactly going as planned. With this book hitting the shelves, it's like watching everything they've tried to build unravel in real time. Let's be real. Their ventures in the States have been bumpy, big time. Remember that Netflix deal everyone hyped? Yeah, smooth sailing it wasn't. Projects got shelved, content flopped, and let's just say the streaming giant isn't exactly thrilled with how things went down. Then there's Spotify. That partnership, canceled, dead. The kind of headline-grabbing failure that makes people question what they're really offering. And it doesn't stop there. Meghan's lifestyle brand attempts, that wellness and lifestyle push? From what we're hearing, it's flopping. People aren't buzzing, confusion is everywhere, and the momentum just isn't there for a brand like that to succeed.
The abdication happened because of the American Wallace. That was a catastrophe in a way, but we overcame it, and his successor, George VI, was a terrifically successful king. And of course, the Queen was phenomenally successful, and we'll see what happens.
Here's the kicker. For years, they've been preaching authenticity, being real, genuine, sharing their truth, living with integrity. That's their whole image. Interviews, documentaries, even books. They sold this ideal to the world. But now, that story is getting serious cracks, and the timing couldn't be worse. But now Bauer's book is hitting the shelves, and it's allegedly showing a side nobody's seen before. It's raising serious questions about whether any of that authentic image was actually real, or if it was all just carefully staged. And if people start thinking it was all an act, that's not just bad PR, that's the whole foundation crumbling. The timing couldn't be worse. Their California ventures are already stumbling, public opinion has shifted, and the initial excitement from their big move to the States, that's seriously cooled off. And now here comes a book spilling details they definitely didn't want out right when they can least afford a new scandal. Harry knows how fast this can spiral. He's seen it happen before. One story breaks, then another, then suddenly you're trapped in a cycle where everything you do is under a microscope. Right now, that's exactly the scene. They're getting scrutinized on every interview, every statement, every public appearance, all through the lens of this new information. For someone who left the royal family hoping for freedom and a peaceful life, this must be beyond frustrating.
Laura's interview with Oprah Winfrey. So that's a major breakthrough for Samantha Markle, for Thomas Markle.
Instead of a fresh start, they're right back in the center of a media storm. And this time, there's no palace machinery to shield them. And if you thought things were messy already, wait until you hear what Bauer dug up about Meghan's family situation. This is where it gets personal, uncomfortable, and honestly, a little heartbreaking. For years, we've all heard Meghan's version about her dad, Thomas Markle. The story has been simple. He betrayed her trust, staged paparazzi photos, spoke to the press right before the wedding, and because of that, she cut him off. That's the version told in interviews, documentaries, the whole narrative. But according to Bauer, there may be more to the story than we've been told. He's asking tough questions about how that relationship really fell apart. Questions that don't necessarily paint Meghan as the victim she's presented herself to be. Here's the thing, shaping how people see you is powerful. Frame the story convincingly, and most people will accept it, even if it's not the whole picture. Sources say Meghan has been masterful at this since early on, and Bauer is allegedly exposing that, showing that Meghan might have molded the family drama to fit her public image. One insider reportedly said something like, Meghan understood framing everything was crucial, and if that meant adjusting details or highlighting some parts while leaving out others, that's what you do. Now, this isn't saying Thomas Markle is some flawless father. He had his missteps too, but it does suggest the narrative we've all heard might not be the full story. That's not even the main point. What Bauer seems to be hinting at is that the fallout between Meghan and her dad might not have been as one-sided as we've been told. Maybe, just maybe, there were things happening on both sides that led to the fallout.
That Meghan was warmly welcomed in Britain, that everyone in the royal family tried their very, very hardest to make her feel at home and accommodate her, but that unfortunately Meghan only wanted to be the star and made it impossible for her and the royal family to collaborate.
And this matters because Meghan has used that family estrangement as a key part of her public image. The story of someone misunderstood, betrayed, pushed aside by people who should have had her back. It's sympathetic. It makes people root for her, defend her, see her as the one who got hurt. But if that narrative starts to crumble, if people begin wondering whether parts were exaggerated or reshaped, then what happens? Suddenly, you're looking at someone whose entire public persona is built on a story that might not fully hold up under scrutiny. And it's not just about her dad. Bauer is reportedly digging into her entire journey from those early Hollywood days all the way to becoming a global icon. Everyone sees the transformation, struggling actress to Duchess to worldwide figure, and Bauer's asking the hard questions, how much of that journey was real and how much was strategically constructed? Because here's the truth. Building a public persona takes work, strategy, timing, and knowing exactly what to say and when. According to what's coming out now, Meghan was apparently amazing at playing that game, maybe even too good. The book isn't even fully out yet, and the damage is already hitting hard. Social media has exploded. Thousands of comments, threads going viral, people digging through old interviews and speeches. They're not casually scrolling anymore. They're analyzing everything Meghan has ever said. With this new info in mind, critics are pulling up clips from years ago, comparing them to what Bauer is revealing now, and the inconsistencies are stacking up. Side-by-side comparisons are popping up, showing where things don't match, where timelines feel off, and where details shift depending on who asks the questions. And here's the wild part. It's not just critics anymore. Even her former defenders, the people who would jump in to support her online, are going quiet. Comment sections that used to overflow with praise and loyalty are now filled with doubt. People are asking, wait, how much of this was real? Did she really go through all that, or was some of it exaggerated? That's a huge problem. These are the people who believed her story, who related to her struggles, who thought she was genuine. And now they're second-guessing everything. And then there's the British press. Oh man, they are having an absolute field day. Tabloids are running wild headlines everywhere, screaming about secrets revealed and the Duchess exposed. It feels like we're back in those early scandal days, but this time it's way more intense. There's actual detailed information coming out, not just rumors or speculation. The media in the UK has been waiting for something like this, and now they've got it. Story after story, article after article, digging into what Bauer uncovered and what it means for Meghan's reputation.
She says that she didn't cooperate with Omid Scobie, and she said that she didn't consult anyone when writing the letter to her father.
And they're not holding back. Every tiny detail is being analyzed, discussed, and torn apart. Meanwhile, behind closed doors in that Montecito mansion, the scene is reportedly tense. Really tense. Staff are walking on eggshells, not knowing what might explode next. The stress, the anxiety, the pressure, it's radiating through the whole house. PR teams are in full crisis mode. Phones ringing nonstop, emergency meetings popping up. Everyone's scrambling to figure out how to handle a situation that seems to get worse every hour. They're trying to come up with a response, some way to control the damage. But here's the problem. When someone like Tom Bauer drops a book this detailed, there's only so much damage control you can do. And Meghan herself, according to insiders, has told friends she feels completely under attack, with everything coming at her from all sides and nowhere to hide. She's reportedly feeling betrayed, exposed, and vulnerable like she hasn't in years. This isn't just some tabloid exaggeration. This is detailed information that's making people question everything about her. The fortress she built around herself, that carefully managed public image, it's taking serious hits. And when you've spent years constructing the perfect version of yourself for the world, having it challenged like this has got to be terrifying. Once people start doubting one part of your story, they start doubting everything. Let's pull back the curtain and look at what was actually happening inside that Montecito mansion. As the news started spreading, it wasn't pretty. Picture this. Early morning, Meghan's phone starts lighting up and it doesn't stop. Notifications keep coming, calls, texts flooding in from friends trying to warn her about what's dropping. According to insiders, the moment she realized what Bauer had uncovered, she completely lost it. This was full-on crisis mode. Publicists and crisis managers called in immediately, phones ringing off the hook, emergency meetings being set up on the spot. Everyone was scrambling to figure out what they were dealing with and how to handle it, because this wasn't just another story they could brush off. This was serious. Sources described the scene as pure chaos. One person said Meghan was pacing around nearly in tears, asking over and over, how could he possibly know all that? She wasn't just upset.
One probably to serve and be silent. Well, that's the job of the royal family, that they're not there to campaign.
She was stunned, shocked that Bauer managed to get such personal, detailed information. And here's what really got to her. These weren't things you could just find online or dig up from old articles. This was deeply private stuff. This is the kind of information that only comes from people who actually knew her. People she'd once been close to, people she trusted, maybe even deeply trusted. That realization hit hard. The idea that someone from her inner circle, or maybe multiple people, had opened up to Tom Bauer and shared things she absolutely didn't want public, it's the kind of shock that's hard to shake. One insider described it like watching someone realize their fortress wasn't as secure as they thought. All those walls she'd built, all that careful image management, and somehow information was still leaking out. But Bauer didn't stop at Hollywood connections or family drama. He went digging deeper in ways that are seriously uncomfortable. Her childhood stories, her education, her early career moves, everything was reportedly under his microscope. And what he uncovered is making people question how accurate that polished version of Meghan we've all seen really is. Sources from her Northwestern days say the Meghan they knew back then is worlds apart from the person the public sees today. Not just in success or status, but in how she presented her background, the stories she told about those formative years, the image she created of who she was and what she went through. There are apparently some pretty major differences between what she shared and what people who were actually there remember. That's scary, because if the foundation of your public image doesn't fully match reality, what happens when people start comparing notes? When old classmates start speaking up? Details you thought were safely behind you suddenly get dragged into the present. For Meghan, this represented everything she's been trying to avoid. Loss of control, loss of her narrative, and maybe worst of all, the realization that no matter how carefully you manage your image, the past has a way of catching up. Here's where it gets really intense. Bauer's book has way too much detail to be based only on public information. We're talking personal stories, private conversations, behind closed doors moments. You can't just Google this stuff. That means someone talked, probably multiple people. And that's what's got Meghan spiraling right now. The speculation about who cooperated is running wild. Some think it was former staff, palace aides who allegedly felt burned during the royal years and wanted their side out there. Others point to old Hollywood connections, friends, colleagues, people who may have been left behind once she hit it big. The entertainment industry can be brutal like that. But here's the theory that's really buzzing.
It's just one of those things everybody imagines. When somebody is pregnant close to you, you wonder what the child will look like.
What if someone from her own family actually cooperated with Bauer? That idea alone is enough to send shockwaves through anyone who's built a carefully controlled public image. And when we talk family, there's one name that keeps coming up: Thomas Markle, her dad. Now, we don't know for sure if he actually talked, but the level of detail in Bauer's book about family dynamics and what went down between them is making people wonder. Because who else could possibly know that stuff? Who else would have those exact memories? Apparently, Meghan is thinking the same thing. Sources say she's been obsessing, calling people, asking questions, trying to figure out if her dad was one of Bauer's sources. Because if that's true, if her own father went to a journalist with family details, that's not just betrayal, that's something else entirely. Then there's Samantha, her half-sister. Right around the time this book dropped, she's been online posting cryptic hints, thanking certain people for finally revealing what she's been saying all along. You don't need to be a detective to connect the dots. Meanwhile, Meghan's trying to figure out the leak, and someone else is caught in the middle: Harry. And sources say he's torn. On one hand, he wants to protect his wife and is frustrated this keeps happening. On the other, he's exhausted. Every few months, there seems to be another scandal, another book, another exposé. Harry came to California for a peaceful life, not to ride a non-stop drama carousel. Insiders say their home has been tense lately, even cold, with stress lingering that neither of them can escape. When your past keeps being dug up, people question everything about you, and the toll is real. And the worst part? This likely isn't over. Whispers are circulating about more documentaries, more writers digging into Meghan's Hollywood connections. It's like the floodgates have opened, and suddenly everyone wants to tell their version of who she really is. For someone who spent years controlling every aspect of her public image, watching it all unravel must be devastating. The past she worked so hard to leave behind isn't staying buried. It's resurfacing piece by piece, and there's nothing she can do to stop it. Here we are. Everything Meghan spent years building, careful image crafting, perfectly curated stories about who she is and where she came from, is unraveling. And it's happening fast, faster than anyone expected. What's crazy is this. When your entire brand, your whole public presence, is built on a specific image, those cracks aren't just small, they become everything. People aren't just questioning one story or one decision anymore. They're questioning it all. Every interview, every speech about authenticity, every carefully worded statement, it's all being seen differently now. And her reputation? It's hanging by a thread. Think about it. She went from being a celebrated figure, someone with global influence, with platforms, partnerships, and opportunities most people could only dream of. But now, all those speeches, all those titles, that carefully constructed global presence, it's being re-examined through a totally different lens. Here's what really stands out. Meghan's toughest battle right now isn't Tom Bauer. It's not the British press. It's not even the online critics dissecting every detail of her past. Her real fight? It's with something she can't control, can't spin, can't reframe and can't explain away. It's her past, or at least the version of her past that's starting to surface whether she likes it or not. She can hire the best PR teams, release statements, do all the damage control she wants, but if the foundation of your image doesn't line up with reality, there's only so much you can do to hold it all together. And that past she worked so hard to leave behind, to reshape and present to fit her narrative, it's not cooperating, it's not staying quiet. It's coming back piece by piece, story by story, detail by detail. Maybe that's the thing about trying to control your entire image. Eventually, something slips. Eventually, the real story finds a way out. So what happens next? That's the question everyone's asking. Can she recover from this? Can her brand survive? Or is this the beginning of the end for the carefully crafted image of Meghan Markle? So what do you think? Is her image done for? Or does she still have a shot to bounce back from all of this? If you watch this and have thoughts, drop them in the comments below. If this breakdown made you see things differently, hit subscribe and stay locked in for more deep dives like this. Don't forget to like the video and share it with someone who needs to see it.